Hi, I'm Stephen Hay from Archery Supplies, and today I want to look at the EVA target. Now this target here, I've been shooting since April last year, 2018. So we're in February 2019 and I'm still shooting the same target. Now this target is 1 meter by 1 meter, 10 centimeters thick, and we sell it for $80. It's a foam, it's a very, very soft foam. And I did a review on it at the time, and I said, look, here's the target and this is what it is. Now since then, I know I've obviously learned a bit more about these targets and I've sold a whole heap of them. And what I want to show you is what this target looks like after shooting for 9 months. Now I shoot a lot of arrows. I shoot fat arrows, I shoot thin arrows, and I'm talking the big fat arrows for indoor. So those arrows blow holes in foam, right? Now there's I'm going to say there's two types of foam. There's obviously more than that, but as far as I'm concerned, there's two types of foam. There's the hard foam, which will physically stop an arrow. So the arrow hits it and it physically stops. And those arrows are hard to extract out of the target. Now what I find with that foam is you blast holes actually in the foam. Because the foam is so hard and so dense, when the arrow hits it, the foam doesn't really re-heal. And that'll be a case for a lot of your 3D targets. And yes, they do heal, but eventually you'll basically shoot holes in the target and you've got to repair the target or throw it out or put a replacement center in. Now even on 3D targets there's a whole heap of different foams, but basically the harder it is to hit, the harder it is to pull out your arrows, generally the more holes you'll get in it. And people are going to say, well, that's not the case, but this is my finding, so this is what I found. Now when it comes to shooting target archery, there's a few target butts on the market, and I copped some abuse from a guy I sold one to. So I sold a big target butt to a guy, 122 centimeters by 122 centimeters by 25 centimeters thick. And I said to the person, I said, look, this will not stop an arrow. You need backing behind it to stop the arrow to pull it up. Now I sold the target butt foam for $400. The competitor sold for $880. And after 3 months, he rang me up and abused me and said he's getting passed through it. And I said, well, have you got a bag behind it to stop the target? Because the foam will not stop a target will not stop an arrow if it's shot out of a high-powered compound bow, if it's soft foam. All it does is basically it holds a piece of paper or a target face on the butt, and the bag is what's doing the catching. What the foam's giving you is that nice flat face. Now, with this target here, which is 10 centimeters thick, this is not stopping an arrow. It's not going to stop an arrow. Is it going to stop a light power recurve, 20 pounds, a kid's arrow? Yeah, look, it'll stop that, but not a 60-pound compound. Now I shoot a 60-pound compound with the skinny arrows, and this is what target I've been shooting at for 9 months. Now I put a target butt behind. When I say target butt, I put a bag target behind it. Now the target behind it is filled with plastic, and that's actually what's catching the arrows. I haven't replaced that target in 8 months, and it catches my arrows. Now this is what the target looks like after 8 months of shooting. So you can see here, there's a hole, but I can't actually get my finger through that hole. You can see here there's some holes, there's some holes, but I can almost get my finger through there. But that's pretty good for 8 months of shooting, and I shoot pretty much every day. Now I'm going to show you the back of this target. I'm going to zoom up. This is what the back looks like. You can see that there's actually no holes right the way through the target. I'm going to zoom up. So the back of this target, so what's happening is the arrow's penetrating the foam, going straight through. When I say straight through, the arrow goes straight through this thing, hits the bag, and the bag actually stops the arrow. Then when you pull the arrow out, because this foam is so soft, the foam re-heals itself. I didn't think these targets would be that good. Now with recurve shooters, I've got a few recurve shooters shooting these targets. They're shooting about 40 pounds. And they're not shooting any bags behind it. And they basically add 3 of these foam targets, 3 of these foams, so it's costing $240, 30 centimeters deep, and that's stopping a recurve arrow. Now they've had those set up for, I'm going to guess 6 months you've had it set up for, and they haven't told me they've had to replace any yet. They might have, but they haven't told me they have. I've got one guy who's taken the 100 centimeter by 100 centimeter target and layered it. So he's cut it with a saw and then layered it, so bits by bits by bits. Now the advantage of doing that, when you shoot out a strip, you can just replace the strip. Now I would say he set up his target, I'm going to guess, he's a customer of mine. I'm going to say he set up his target 6 months ago. He hasn't told me he's replaced any of it. I still think a bag behind the target is a good idea. Now, in the past when I shot a Nationals in Adelaide, it was a wet day, we were shooting at Denage targets, and they only had a small bag behind the target. It was wet and it was a horrible day, and my arrows, on one end we had, I'm going to guess 6 pass-throughs, arrows going straight through the target butt, and I had, I think 1 or 2 arrows in that end straight through the target butt. There's my arrow sitting straight behind the target. The target face itself is torn and ripped in pieces, and we had about 6 pass-throughs in that end, 2 of which were mine. Now when we shoot target, we mark our arrows, but it was wet, and when you've got 6 pass-throughs on one end, I just recorded misses. Now they were probably 7s, I'm going to guess, because it was very windy and very wet. But my point being that even on a 25 centimeter thick foam target, and even though it's an $880 target, I still got pass-throughs. Now this is a 10 centimeter target, so it's half that size. This, your arrow would clearly pass through, but all you need is a bag target behind it, fill it with plastic, and you're in business. Make up a target frame. I don't have a target frame because I haven't built one yet. I just have this sitting on a bench with a bag behind it, and this is what I shoot at. And you'll see I do all my reviews in the past 8 months with this foam target. Easy as to pull my arrows out. There's no grunting, there's no struggle to pull my arrows out. My arrows come out of the bag easy and come out of this thing easy. I haven't done anything to the bag. I probably need like a new cardboard box for the bag, but overall it's pretty good. So my summary of it, if you're going to shoot foam, I like the idea of a bag behind. It's cheap, the filling's cheap, it costs you nothing basically. This foam is cheap, $80 for a strip, simple, cheap. Now there's also a club down in Victoria who's used these. They put it at the front and the back, and they're putting wetsuit material on the inside of the target for field because they're 100 centimeters by 100 centimeters. They've only just set that up, but I think that will be really successful because I'm not getting the holes through this foam because the foam's so soft. So what's actually happening is the wetsuit material's catching the arrow, and I think that's really functional. So where I started this video, which is how well the foam lasts. Now when I shoot hard foam targets, so hard foam, no backing behind it, what I find is I can shoot those things out in almost a day. So I've got them set up in my shooting range, and I've had, is it 11 targets, which have a soft rubber foam core on the inside. I think the foam sells for about $100 for a core. I can shoot those out in a day. And I was charging $5 to shoot in my shooting range, and people could shoot them out in a day, and it's costing me $100. That didn't really make sense. Now I've gone to other cores which are $40, which are harder foam. You can shoot those out in about 2 days. So you've got to basically move the target around. Still expensive to shoot. This, $80, and I've been shooting it for 8 months. Really, really good. So when it comes to shooting, I'm emphasizing this point because I copped a fair bit of abuse from this one customer on the phone. I gave him his money back on the target, like after he shot it for a few months. If the target's going to be soft, generally you're going to do less damage to the target. You need a bag behind it to catch the arrows. The bags are the way to go. If it's a hard foam, it's going to capture the arrow, but then the foam will crumble with time and basically break away, and you'll either use a paste to rebuild that target, or you need a replacement core to stick into the target. That's the basic rule of foam. But overall now the question you're going to ask is, why not just use a bag? Absolutely, you can just use a bag. But if you're looking for that nice flat face, that's where the foam comes in, or cardboard. The problem you have with cardboard is you tend to blast holes in it, and then you've got that hole to shoot into, and when you shoot the arrow in it, the arrow drops. I've had no arrows dropping with this foam at all, so no arrows going in, hitting the target, then sagging, which is what happens in bag targets. When you shoot bag targets, you shoot the arrow, and because their bag just stops the arrow then drops, and when you shoot another arrow into it, it hits and then breaks the arrow. That's what I like about the foam. The foam's holding my arrows dead straight on the target, and the bag behind is doing the capturing. So I'm Stephen Hand from Archery Supplies. I hope that's been informative for you. Try it out and test out different types of foam. There's obviously different foam you can try out. Some people use yoga mats and stuff like that. I just found this really, really good after 8 months. And since someone asked me a question on it yesterday, I was like, well, I'll do a video and let's have a look how this target's held up for 8 months. And for 8 months of shooting, and given the amount of arrows I shoot, this has been very, very successful. I'm Stephen Hand from Archery Supplies. Enjoy your shooting, and the more you shoot, the better you'll shoot. And saying that, I better go shoot. Thank you. Bye.